Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining us again today. My name is Emma Land. I'm a counselor here at Williamsville Wellness. And today I have joining me.
Jordan Welch.
Yes, Jordan is one of our interns here. Sadly, hate to say this because I'm in denial about it, but today is Jordan's last day of internship. Don't remind me, I'm really upset. Jordan has been with us for, it's been like over a year.
It's been over a year, yes. I'm no, almost two. I don't like a year and a half. Yeah.
Wow.
And
Yeah. So Pet Jordan came to us like a year and a half ago in his practicum, and he has grown so much ever since he got here with us. So today, our focus is going to be on kind of Jordan's intern journey, and then also some of the areas that Jordan has helped our clients with a lot in his time here, and maybe how he got interested in the specific topic areas. So first, Jordan, tell us about what compelled you to choose therapy. What made you want to enter this field and go to school for this?
yeah, I know that's a really good question. Like I grew up in a very strong, highly motivated family that was like everybody has to be a doctor. If you're not a doctor, then you are garbage. Like if you're not a lawyer, then you're garbage. And so I did the whole doctor path. So my undergrad, the majority of it was pre-med, like chemistry and all these things. But I always aligned myself with psychology, like mental health and wellness. And so I got to a breaking point where I was signing up for the NCAT and I was practicing and getting ready for that. And I just had complete quarter life crisis where I was I don't want to be a doctor. I don't want to live that particular life, but I still want to help people. And so that's how I found this. That's how I found counseling and therapy and psychology. So.
Yes, yes, we're so glad you made that switch. What in your time? So, well, first tell me about your experience here as an intern at Williamsville, and then I want to talk about how you kind of just grew overall as an intern and what areas specifically piqued your interest. But tell me about your year and a half with us.
Yeah, a year and a half. Wow. That went by so fast.
For mine.
It did went by really fast. I think when you first start, there's a really big feeling of imposter syndrome.
Yes.
You're who am I? What am I doing? Can I even do this? And lots of trial and error, especially at the beginning. Because it's kind of how do you learn counseling, how to do therapy in a classroom? You can learn theories and techniques, but then implementing them is a whole other thing.
Yeah.
So you go into your first couple of sessions and you're okay, let's just try something. Let's just try the empty chair. And so you go down the list and you go down the list. So you go down, okay, step one, step two, you'll awkwardly walk the patient through the empty chair. And of course, it doesn't work and it's awkward and it's weird. But then you learn that okay, all of these techniques and theories that I've learned in school are just a foundation to build off of. Yeah, sure, empty chair, great, that's a chair that's empty. But you can use so many other variations of that doesn't actually include an empty chair. So at first it's hey, textbook, apply.
Yeah.
And then you're wait a second, that doesn't really work. So a textbook, Jordan's version, apply, what does my patient need? Cells out, full circle.
Yeah. Yeah. I like you bring that up because it's I think, and I started here as an intern too. So we had a similar experience, going through that. It's very much okay, I view myself as strict structure therapist textbook, like you're saying. And it's just over time, especially with, I think, the environment that we have here, you get a lot of space to remember that you're a human as well, and that your humanness is actually what's most beneficial for the clients. But I think as an intern, it's scary because we're supposed to be a blank slate and all that stuff that I don't believe in. So when here specifically giving that opportunity to trial and error, try something out, make it different. And then also I know clients have loved you the entire time you've been here, but the feedback that they're willing to give too, seeing it as that collaborative, we are learning from each other experience, is what's so unique about us and doing an internship here. Tell me about throughout your time, your year and a half, what did you find to be some of the key areas of okay, I find this to be super helpful with our clients?
Yeah, and I think Williamsville Wellness is a really unique place in terms of internships and practice Because here we're really permitted the space to try things.
Yeah.
Like to grow into our own, rather than coming here and feeling like you have to fit a mold.
Yeah.
We come here and we're asked to be ourselves.
Yeah.
Show up as you are.
Yeah.
Because we understand that when we show up as we are authentically,
Yeah.
that is most beneficial for our patients.
For sure.
And so I think for me, I've always aligned with the modality of acceptance committed therapy. That has kind of been like my home base. I love the foundation of identity behind that and yielding of ourselves, self-empowerment, understanding who we are in the world, understanding the place our emotions play in the world, and also the idea and understanding of what brings me purpose and fulfillment in life. And so I think here with my time with our patients, really a lot of them come in feeling lost or void of any form of purpose or fulfillment. Because for the longest time, addiction, substance, action, behavior, what have you, has been that purpose, has been that fulfillment, has been what they've been using to fill that void.
For sure.
And so when they go in, they're like, who am I? What even is my identity? What brings me purpose? What brings me fulfillment? What even are the values that I hold? Because for so long, addiction has just completely consumed their entire identity. They remove addiction from that identity pillar of themselves, and then it's like, okay, I don't even know who I am. I don't even know my goals. I don't even know my values. So
Yeah. The identification of all of those things is like a whole new world almost for somebody entering into recovery, because you think about it when, you're in active addiction, it's everything I do most often day to day is surrounding my addiction, my next fix, my next drink, my next bet, and then the up from that, and then the come down from that. And so I don't really have any space to figure out who I am. So you come here, you're not using, you're not drinking, you're not betting. All you have is space, and I think the space can feel really overwhelming too. How would you help a client navigate this newfound space and almost the vastness of this space to figure out who they are?
yeah, that's a good question, because really for a lot of our patients, addiction has been so prevalent in their life for so long that the idea of starting over or building anew or even self-discovery is so daunting.
Yes.
It's terrifying.
Yeah.
Because you ask the question, okay, if you could list, some parts of your identity now, what would they be? And they have no idea. I think it's really important to do baby steps, take baby steps, go back even into childhood, even our favorite colors and our favorite foods and music that we listen to as children in our youth play parts of our identity. And so for people who are really kind of struggling to understand who even am I, what brings me joy, what brings me fulfillment, sometimes going back to childhood, we can take little snippets and golden nuggets and be like, okay, when I was 8, I got a train track for Christmas and I loved the train track. And I played with it for years and years and years and years. And that actually reminds me of a patient that we had here a couple of months ago, where we went back and we did self-discovery in their presence as children in Christmas. And they found they're like, hey, no, I actually want to do model cars. I want to get model cars. That sounds so fun. I loved it as a kid. And I'm going to try to do that in my recovery moving forward. So really going back and revisiting ourselves as children can be really helpful in those baby steps.
Yes. Yeah. The carefree playfulness of children. Sometimes we need to readopt that as adults. That doesn't have to just be savored for kids. As adults, we can engage in all that stuff too. And that joy is necessary for recovery completely. We've been through so much in active addiction, and then even in new recovery, there is still a lot of hard stuff ahead. So engaging in the more playful, carefree side, that's pinnacle.
Yeah, joy, right? Joy, bringing joy and fun back into life.
Yes.
Without addiction, a lot of times life seems depressing, void of color. So how can we bring fun back into life?
Yeah, I love that. What would you say you do regarding values work? So, we're starting to piece together parts of our identity. Here's some things maybe we liked in childhood. Here are some things, maybe we're interested and passionate about now. How do you weave values into the mix of identity?
Yeah, values can be a difficult one for someone who's lived in the world of active addiction for so long.
Yeah.
And if we struggle to identify values or core values that we hold, oftentimes we can ask the question, who is somebody you respect in your life? And it's like a close relative, but maybe like a family member. And then we ask, what are the values that they hold that you respect of them? Then it's easier to then list, oh, they're family oriented, they're hardworking, they're trustworthy, they're kind. And then we can talk, why do you view those as important? And why do you view those as respectful? You see them in other people.
Yeah. Like, what about that matters to you? What about that is respectable or important? Like looking at your role models and being able to expand the view, because looking internally can be really scary, especially if I don't even know what's internal. So almost that nice, like cushy launch pad at first as I start to figure out who I am.
Right. It's like they looking inwards, they often describe it as just a hollow shell. So a lot of these questions, when we ask them to look inwards, they don't have a response because they feel completely empty. So if we can start building off of those things that they hold valuable, like those core values that they see in other people, that's a way to kind of like make the process a little bit easier.
Yeah.
And then first have look inward. What do you see?
Right now, I see nothing. I see nothing right now. So that's a difficult question.
Yeah. Externalizing things, taking baby steps, like is all really crucial in this work. What's a typical assignment maybe you would give someone outside of session to figure out their identity or look at some of their values?
That is a good question. I have two main identity, I don't even know what you call it, techniques, exploration that I like to do. One of them is the lighter set of identity, and then the compasses of core values.
Okay.
And so the way that I describe core values to our patients is that core values are like compasses, right? So a trustworthy, kind, hardworking, dedicated. They're compasses because they guide us in life. They're not in the location that we arrive at.
Yeah.
And we don't wake up tomorrow and be like, oh, I'm trustworthy. Check it out and move on to the next. Oh, yeah, I said it done, cross it off the list. No, it's a continuous process, right? So those compasses guide us forward and they can help us make decisions in the future, right? So if you have a difficult question coming up, you can review back to your compasses or core values and be like, okay, does this align with my core values? Does this align with the compasses that I hold true to myself? And if it doesn't, then you know that's not something you should be doing.
Yeah.
So that the whole idea of like compasses, I think it really helps patients understand that really these are supposed to be guides for us in life, not like this location that we arrive at.
For sure. Yeah, I love that. I know Billy, one of the peer counselors, he often will refer to like higher power as good orderly direction instead of God. If we're, maybe that's not what some people want in their life. They can think of it as good orderly direction, which is steering myself kind of like you're saying in a way that's aligned with my values. And I think that that's so important is figuring out how to be more in alignment with my values. How would you approach somebody who maybe like is experiencing a ton of shame for having not been in alignment with their values, or even as they're moving towards change? Sometimes, recovery is not linear or healing is not linear. We might take a step back. So that even that shame as I'm trying to change and maybe I do something that goes against my values. How would you deal with that in session and help somebody feel like more comfortable?
Yeah, and the shame cycle is a big part of addiction and moving forward in recovery. And so I often describe core values in regards to addiction as core values are those quiet compasses that we hold to ourselves. And addiction oftentimes is that blaring, loud, screaming GPS in your car that's screaming at you to turn left. Screaming, go left, go left, go left, go left. That's going to veer us into a ditch or into a lake or what have you. Yeah, while those compasses are quietly whispering in their pockets and go right. So obviously, what do you think you're going to listen to?
Right, the thing that's super loud.
Yeah.
Yeah, it won't be quiet.
Exactly, the thing that won't shut up, right? That's screaming at you to go left. Right, and so the process is then learning to turn down the volume on that GPS and eventually just ripping it out of the car and throwing it out the window. But I found that noting that these compasses have always been a part of us, that they're always in our pocket, even when we were listening to the GPS, even when we were in active addiction, they weren't gone. They were always there. Can be really healing for a lot of people, because a lot of times they feel like they've completely abandoned them. They've thrown them away. They don't even know what they are. But when they realize, no, they've always been a part of me.
Right.
I just need to pull them out of my pocket
Yeah.
and listen to them. It's really empowering.
Yeah. Yeah. Knowing that like you've always had that strength. This isn't something completely new or, out of the realm of possibility. It's always been there. There's just been something else that is a lot louder.
Yeah.
Or maybe worked for a period of time.
Exactly.
Acknowledging that piece of it, that sometimes that stuff was able to get louder because it did serve us, help us in some way. It ultimately ended up being destructive, but like it worked at a time, and that's why I continued to go back to it and let it get louder and turn the volume up.
Right.
And turn the volume down on my value.
Exactly, until the GPS was literally just screaming at us to go left instead of pulling our compasses into right. And that brings a little bit of understanding, right, when you think about addiction, where it goes, okay, no, like that makes sense. The progression of addiction, the progression of turning that volume up and up and up and up, and slowly having those compasses fade deeper into our pockets. It gives a little bit of understanding for those that are in active addiction and working in recovery, where it goes, okay, no, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Right? Because obviously, no duh, I'm going to be listening to the GPS that's screaming at me that has slowly been turning the volume up, rather than the very quiet silent compasses in my mouth.
Yeah, it makes it more like attainable too, to say that I do have the choice maybe to like turn this down and follow the compass instead. Yeah. I often think too, sometimes as therapists, what maybe our core focus areas or the topics that interest us most and we end up focusing on a lot in session have a lot to do with our own personal experiences. And as an intern, that is the time period where you are really coming into your relationship with being a therapist. But then also if you've had experience in your own therapy journey and into things that really impacted you when, you were on the other side of the chair, you were the patient, the client. When do you always kind of think, okay, identity, values, this is something that really matters to me? Or how did you come into that? Tell me about that.
Yeah, no, that's a really good question. And, I'd like to know also that we are continually also being the patient and the client, right? Continually working on ourselves. And identity is just that. It's a lifelong work. It's a lifelong commitment as we continue to grow and progress. And identity is not meant to be concrete.
Yeah.
It's not meant to be solid. It's meant to be malleable, flexible, changeable. I often describe it like the trees outside, right? If the trees were completely concrete and immovable, what do you think would happen when a big wind came through? Bad things. Many bad things would happen. But the trees grow, they bend, they move, they flex in the wind, just as we do as life moves forward. For me, I grew up in a very staunch, strict, religious family that had very black and white views about life. And I identify as a queer man. And so growing up in that, I never do it.
Realm.
Yeah, growing up in that realm, growing up that lifestyle was really difficult, right?
Yeah.
And so it was me struggling with what I was taught from my family and from what I was feeling on the inside.
Right.
Eventually, I came out, but that process was literally learning, okay, what parts of my belief, what parts of myself, what parts of my identity do I hold true to me, and what parts have been forced upon? So I had to go through the whole process of dissecting my own identity. What do I want to keep? What do I want to put away? What do I want to add? And that was, we're still working in that process.
Right. Yeah. You'll always be working it.
Yes. And so I really hold identity word very close to home for me, because I had to rebuild an entire identity. Like, I grew up in a life that told me that I couldn't be happy, that I couldn't have joy, that I couldn't be married, that I couldn't find love, that I couldn't find fulfillment in this world if I did live in a very particular way. So leaving that is terrifying.
It is. Yeah.
It's scary. It's questioning everything you believe, and then you come and you rebuild yourself, you rediscover who you are, and you find, oh no, I can find happiness, I can find love, I can find marriage, I can find all these things that they told me that I couldn't, but I actually can. So
Yeah. Yeah. And when you talk about like that journey at first being pretty terrifying, I can see in the way that you hold space for our clients when they're terrified of this. It has a lot to do, I think, just with how amazing I think you are as a clinician, but then also, your personal experience, your personal journey, being able to have all of that empathy, space, and room for people to maybe be scared about starting this journey. But being able to show them like it's a really positive place to go to and to keep going to because we're always growing, we're always working.
yeah, we often talk about how scary and daunting that task can be, but also if we turn the coin, we flip the coin, we can see how exciting it could be.
Yes.
It's a new opportunity to literally construct ourselves and build a future that we want. No longer dictated by the views and opinions of other people, no longer dictated by addiction or substance or behavior, but dictated by ourselves, really choosing authentically what we want our identity to be shapes the future that we want. So yeah, scary, daunting, totally, 100%.
Yeah.
Exciting.
Yes. And I think what's cool about that too is that we experience fear and excitement in the body in a very similar way. So it's like, it's honestly a little easy to to take fear and transition it into excitement because they happen in a very similar fashion in our body. So yeah, I love that you're able to take that fear, put it into excitement, because the fact that there are so many options, choices, the world is so vast, so big, is exciting. It's an opportunity. It's a space for choice. And that's really cool.
Yeah, and with self-empowerment. Yes. Really understanding, okay, this is an opportunity where I get to choose for myself without all those supposed to be's from other people, without all those expectations placed upon us by those around us, really looking inwards. And it's a way of self-empowerment. Okay, I get to choose who I want to become. I'm like, what does that look like? Yes. And then going back to your earlier questions about the different activities that I do, this brings me back to my Lego activity, which I love because it's very visual and tactile. And I find that oftentimes people, when they can move and they can put their hands on something, it could be a really eye-opening experience. And so we do an activity in my office with Legos. Where I have this Lego bin and we pull out different Lego pieces. They select their own pieces, I select my own pieces, and we start building a structure. It can be anything. It could be a car, it could be a house, it could be a tower, it could be a little Lego person, and what have you.
Yeah.
But then as we select the different pieces, we talk about them because the pieces are Lego bricks of our identity. So, okay, so why did you pick this one instead of that one? Why did you pick this brick, and what does that signify? Well, this brick signifies my favorite color being red, so I picked a red brick. Or this signifies like my need for adventure and exploration. And we slowly build these structures together. But then once the structure's been formed, they can look back and reflect on it and go, okay, all of these different bricks, all of these different Lego pieces have meaning, they have purpose, and they're parts of my identity. And it's really interesting too, because oftentimes this takes several sessions, but oftentimes they end up with an object like a rabbit or a car or an airplane. And then we discuss why they shaped into that. Really, you had endless possibilities and built anything that you wanted, but you ended up on a rabbit. Or you ended up on a car. Like, why? Why that? And it really is more understanding of our identity and that it's personal to us and authentic to ourselves. Because really, you could have built anything in the world.
Yeah.
But you decided to build a blue car.
Yeah. I love that. Oh, these are the things that I am kind of, I suppose. So, speaking of that, obviously your future is so bright and it holds so much. Where are you going? Here. Gino.
No, we still don't know. My partner is in the Navy.
Okay.
And so we're waiting for orders for our next station. So we have no idea.
How exciting is that? Like we're saying, the possibilities are endless. The fear
Yeah, let's say it's like they are both there, they are both present, but really, and we discussed this, like we will find excitement, we'll find joy, we'll find fulfillment wherever we go. Obviously, we have places that we prefer to go, but really, at the end of the day, like we will make wherever we go home for us.
Yes.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, of course, we're going to miss you so much, the staff. And I know that all of our clients are going to miss you so much too, because you've been incredible. Thank you for taking the time to sit down and talk with me today. And thank you guys out there for watching, and we'll see you next time.